Hey to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 222 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Gordon Hay. And if you want to know something about the 100 plus moving bones in your feet, stay tuned. So we have Gordon Hay with us here today with ALINE Inc. And he is the co-founder of this amazing business that we're going to be featuring today on the Chiro Hustle Podcast. And you are the illustrious 222 episode of our show here. And before we get jumping into this episode with you, I just want to welcome you and say thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I know we're going to talk so much about the foot. And I know that a lot of people in chiropractic are like, well, how does the foot really link up with the spine? And I know that we're going to talk about the hundreds of bones in the foot and how that links to the 24 vertebrae of the spine. So I'm really excited for this episode. And before we get going into this, just tell us a little bit about the impetus of what you did to come up with this brand and what you did to come up with the model that you're selling to the world now. And I know that this ALINE system, you call it a foot suspension system. And I'm really excited to discuss that today. But tell us, I know you said you went across the nation and you did all these foot modelings and laser modelings of the feet. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. You know what? We went across the nation, just really changed lives by letting people really realize how they move 2 to 3 million steps a year. And anybody watching this, you're going to learn how to not only change your own life, but you are a vital key component to really helping people extend their active lives. I think we're going to have a really fun podcast here. We're going to geek out on a lot of really cool things. But, you talk about feet, and yeah, they're kind of important. Hopefully it's the first thing to hit the floor as you get out of bed in the morning. It's most likely the last thing to leave the floor at the end of the day. And feet are kind of important. You walk all over them. It's time to treat them right. I'll tell you about this mission and where this all really came from and the passion that you're going to see pouring out of this guy because it's so darn important to understand the matrix of what we're talking about and the massive disconnect that is not only robbing the health and performance of just about everybody, but how we can actually find the hacks and the services and the products and the quick and easy, simple means to really extend your active lives. And really, that is what we're all about. And every day I wake up, how many lives can I change? How did this start? I was this kid. I was on the sidelines of active life. I couldn't move. I had such severe asthma that I was basically the kid sitting there on the sidelines watching all my buddies crush it on the soccer field and whatnot. And I'd see like the kids that ran fast and jumped high versus run slow, jump low. The run slow, jump low, those kids had all these really weird foot patterns and leg patterns, and they looked all over the place and really weird. And the kids, the Terminator movie with that liquid metal guy that was like perfect, boom, 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 boom. That was the run fast, jump high kids, and they were really few and rare in between. We all know who they were. You remember them just crushing the basketball or soccer and whatnot. So as a kid growing up, I suffered. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't run. I wasn't athletic. I actually wound up going to New York a lot. I had a brother 16 years older than I, with throwing the wildest parties, giving up my age years and years ago with, celebrities and forests of high heels. And I'd be sitting next to Andy Warhol and watching forests of high heels. Some high heels were on guys, some, mostly girls, but mostly clunky and awkward. And very few graceful and elegant. And we'll if we have time today, we'll go to that because I've reinvented the whole future of high heels. And Jim, I know you like to wear high heels, so we could talk about that. So the invention of ALINE, I broke free of the asthma right around age 12, 13. I heard that chiropractors can really do a lot of great things for asthmatics. I look forward to hearing about that. Because I was a kid that suffered. It's awful. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. But when my asthma broke, it's like, are you kidding me? I was just out of jail. Dude, I just tore it up. I became an extreme skier. I was pushing the envelope. We were pioneering 100-foot cliff jumps out in Jackson Hole. We were doing all these insane things. And essentially, that brought forward my passion to where I am today of really figuring out how to be a 200-pound guy stopping 100-foot cliff landings and pulling a 70-mile-an-hour turn without your foot shearing inside the boot so you don't cartwheel and hit a rock wall and get big scars on your head. So that's where really it all began. And we started tinkering around and kind of like molding feet, and everybody's heard of custom orthotics and molding and bracing and blah, 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 blah. And it was really, really cool. We started bracing our feet, and we were able to land these landings, and skiing was literally one ski at a time back then. Now it's an asymmetrical, more like snowboarding. So I know you guys are out in Colorado. I'm sure you're not shy to the slopes. But when it really became to a point where I was this crazy guy that could kind of really help you push the envelope, I got good at customizing boots. And through that passion, I did go to the medical world. I became a pedorthist, which is basically, like orthotist, except you're more focused foot central, not doing TLSOs or working with back bracing or any of that. And also custom shoe authorizations. Learned a lot, really appreciated what I learned. It all failed royally in where we were in extreme sports. Because when you're dealing with rigid athletic footwear and you make a mistake of molding, cast molds, slipper molds, or casting feet, you literally backfire the whole thing. Rigid footwear does not lie, okay? Rigid footwear will not lie. Went back to my drawing board, built a lab, wound up in Boston, started pioneering biomechanical means for athletes to push the envelope in skiing, snowboarding, hockey, rigid cycling footwear, all the rigid shoe integrations of getting power transfer through rigid footwear. All right, pretty cool. And I was kind of a legend in my own mind. I thought I was like this king because I had a 6-month waiting list at some points in my time to go see the crazy guy that would get you on the podium. Right? You wanted me to go customize your gear. It all failed. All of it failed. And it killed my mind. I was really, all of a sudden, I was like, legend! Failure. Why? 2 sports, snowboarding and golf. Really good buddy of mine, won 2 Olympic golds on A-line, wheeling the camera, customize his boots like I do any extreme skier. Gordon, I love you, buddy. I love your passion, love everything. Your product doesn't work. Your custom stuff doesn't work. I go, come on, buddy, come on. His name's Seth Westcott, really good friend. All my snowboard friends. Sorry, buddy, doesn't work. They rip the stuff out, throw it in the garbage, and go snowboarding. I was like, come on. Only other sport was golf. And I started really thinking about it. It's like hip rotation, right? Hip rotation, the drive. I mean, you just stand, kick your shoes off, look down, rotate your hips. One foot's going to go in, one foot's going to go out to have hip rotation. Same thing with on a hill. Stand sideways barefoot on a hill. Down foot, up foot, alignment on a hill. If I mold you here and force that hip to have malalignment, I rob your power. It was mind-blowing. I was so bummed and depressed. I'm like, because I started molding feet and looking, and I realized something really simple. I could teach a 6-year-old this. Feet have over 100 moving bones and joints. Over 100 moving bones and joints. I started molding bodies and floating them on phenolic microballoons and seeing the algorithms appear below the foot, and these beautiful things were happening in bodies in motion. And I realized one simple thing. A 6-year-old. 100 plus moving bones and joints, does that have one shape? No. Feet don't have one shape. not only do they not have one shape, they need to change in a timing and sequence mechanism for every freaking motion you do. Just to put a glass in a cupboard or be a bartender or walk down a hall or go on a sidewalk that's angled. They don't have one shape. That means that all shoes, not some shoes, and even barefoot shoes, disable biomechanical efficiency of foot transitions and timing and sequence to body's motion throughout variable terrains, variable motions, and variable footwear. Okay, I'm like, throw the towel in. I'm really a depressed guy at this point. And I get a call from a buddy of mine. These Italians really want you to help them out, Gordon. They want to make rubber do stuff. So I wind up in Italy. And I'm sitting there with the Italians. We're hanging out with this little company called Vibram. We all know Vibram is rubber. And I'm like, cool, teach me all about shoes. They're like, cool, teach us all about make stuff, do stuff. Because they had great rubber, but the rubber needed to do stuff, right? So in order to really go to the distance where we were going in the world today, so we started to write biomechanical programs for rubber in outsoles of shoes to do stuff, to actually change throughout variable terrains and motions. Really cool. I learned a lot, learned about mass production, learned about footwear, learned about midsole, outsole, shanks, all these technologies that the world has been with for years and years and years. I'm like, this is all great. But back to when I was floating the athletes on phenolic microballoons, looking at the algorithms that are occurring from the foot specific, that all shoes are disabling. So we got a big problem. You can work on bodies all day long, and I award it. In fact, I think every single person, if they want to be walking a dog instead of walking a cane when you're 100, you need to see your chiropractor. You have to. It's kind of like brushing your teeth and seeing a dentist twice a year to get them professionally cleaned. You need to have your biomechanical range of motion of your body always monitored yearly. And if you're a serious athlete, monthly. Seriously, I'm not joking, because here's the deal. We have a problem. And shut me up if I talk too much, because, guys, I get on a banter and I'll go. But let's think about something. My number one question, Gordon, what do you think of barefoot? I'm like, I think barefoot's great. I'm a huge energy guy. I love to go grounding. I'll kick my shoes off, go stand on the lawn and the dirt and love it. But what do you think about barefoot? Barefoot function today is not real. Why? We live in a concrete jungle. It's man-made. We don't live in nature. We evolved for what, a gazillion years in dirt, grass, cobblestone. And now look at us. We made what? We mowed this concrete world over and then some. Our indoors, tile, wood, hard, flat, man-made, unforgiving. The foot, that algorithm of timing and sequence of all those beautiful tuberosities and bones and joints moving, it's like hitting you in the face with a frying pan. You walk around your house all day long as an athlete, barefoot, you're going to rob your power, rob your performance, detune your leg. How about outside? Barefoot. I got all these guys. I got these barefoot shoes, man. Barefoot runner. I do all this barefoot. I go, that's great on dirt. You run barefoot on concrete, it's a frying pan to the face. Asphalt, frying pan to the face. It disrupts the algorithm of those joint changes in the foot. And that relates to the leg. So if the foot can't move well, the leg can't move well. This is being jammed up down here over 100 moving gears in your Ferrari. You throw a wrench in it, so you're stuck in first gear, winding it out. Now the leg is going to overpower this, and you get a big shit show, right? It battles each other. It's awful. So what happens? The foot gets weaker, the foot gets jammed up, the leg gets detuned. I talk to people, what do you think of legs? I go, think about legs. And you're chiropractors, and you guys know a lot more than I do, but I look at everything in kind of like layman terms, because I'm trying to convince you. We've been working with the X Games for the last 13 years, and I'm talking to a 13-year-old kid or a 25-year-old athlete that is just tough as nails, but they got to stick a landing. They're doing a 1700 move in a half pipe and landing off axis. How do you condition and train for that? How you walk. You walk 2 to 3 million steps a year, right? If you drip, walk 2 to 3 million steps a year out of alignment, which a high 90% of people are, and we could talk about that later and how we discovered that. But walking out of alignment with the foot jammed up, a Ferrari stuck in first gear all day, the leg's still going to go. Trust me, a leg is a lever arm, and levers move boulders. Your little foot will always lose to the power of that leg. When that leg's not moving well and the foot's not moving well and they're fighting each other, well, what happens is all the connective tissues that you guys know a lot more than I do, but all the connective tissues get out of tune. I look at a leg like a guitar. Play a guitar hard, she gets out of tune, right? Right? So you think about the guitar getting out of tune. People, you ever see somebody all wound up tight? I think you're in the gym a little bit. How many gym people you see squatting with their feet out like this? Their adductors aren't well. The hip flexors, the gastroc, I mean, we're talking guitar strings are either too tight or too loose. Go see a chiropractor. Get your range of motion of your lower extremity dialed in, and then guard that with biomechanical products and services that actually work and that are proven to work.
So you're talking from extreme athletes to soccer moms that would benefit from having the ALINE systems in their shoes. And you're saying that I agree with you too on a lot of the things that you're sharing, but you're saying that, you know, from the ground being flat, it doesn't matter if we're walking in a building. It doesn't matter if we're walking in our home. It doesn't matter if we're walking down the street. The earth is now flat. And the ground is so flat around us that we don't realize the impact that it's having on our micro moves, which is us walking. And our motion through this world is all developed from the ground up. And like you're saying, back centuries ago, the people before they had shoes, the surface of the ground had a lot of variables to it. And now things are pretty much, they want to make things flat and level and surface, whether it's a car rolling on it or it's somebody's feet walking on it. And we have a lot of the variables, unless we're going out there, like you said, playing a sport, we're walking on a trail, or we're outside in some type of an activity that we're performing on an uneven surface, which is highly irregular. Like most people are going to be engineered to be on a flat football field, a flat soccer pitch, a hardwood floor, a baseball diamond that's like graded. So anybody that's out there with any type of like sports background knows that you don't want to play on an uneven field. So everything that we do has to be, like you said, on golfing, like there aren't too many greens that are like, a rough green. So things are wanted to be a flat surface. So we're conditioned to want to see the world as having a flat surface, but in reality, that's not good for our biomechanic shift with these million steps a year. And I think that what you said was so true when it comes to people becoming out of alignment with their spines, because they have the lever of the foot going out of alignment with the 100 of moving bones in the feet. So when the feet are out, those lock up, like you said, the Ferrari in first gear, that has a negative impact on this big lever, which is the leg. And usually what goes out first, as you know from anybody, is the hips and the knees. It's usually not like a huge foot, like, surgery. It's usually a knee that goes out, or an instability in the hip that goes out. So it's these bigger joints that will eventually go out because of the amount of stress. And that's because there's so many little moving bones in the feet that support. But if they're not functioning the right way, what takes the brunt of that movement is the hips and the knees.
It's a 3-part recipe, my friend. A 3-part recipe. And it's the beautiful thing is chiropractic is a major part of that 3-part recipe for the ingredient for active life. Remain active longer. Okay. Now people make their choices, and they can, you can lead a horse to water. And the key thing is, how do you educate people? What's going to make somebody make a decision to change? All right. I find that people move from three motivators. 1, pain. Pain, doc. Take the thorn out of my foot, my hip, my knee, my back. I'm in. Just get that thorn out of there. I'll do whatever it takes. That's easy. Hopefully people aren't waiting until pain. I always tell people, they call me all the time. I got plantar fasciitis. My feet hurt. I go, you just got the best news in the world. They go, what do you mean? My feet hurt. If your feet are hurting you, you just got an early warning sign that you're doing bigger stuff and bigger unfavorable stuff up high. If your feet are talking to you, if you roll that camera forward for another several decades, ignore it. Your knee, your hip, your back. Come on, docs. We all know that, right? So if the foot's not moving well, the leg can't move well. And if the leg's not moving well, the foot can't move well. It's a joint thing. So people will move to pain. Performance. Run faster, jump higher. I've been working with the X Games for 13 years. We work, and with the X Games, we get the Olympians, which I love. We have more podium-proving technology that I love. Podium proof. People are like, where's your white paper? What's this? We got treadmills. We got pressure sensory things. We got all this stuff. I go, that's great. You show me one white paper that measures variable terrains, variable motions, variable range of motions of lower extremity, variable leg curvatures, variable footwear, and you give me the data on that. You can't. So we went through proving grounds of the X Games. In my opinion, no other people push the elements of motion than X Games. 30 feet out of half pipes. We dominate the podiums with BMX cyclists doing double backflips over 100-foot gaps, to your snowboarders, your skiers, all through skateboarding even. You think about these sports and barefoot sports, I'll tell you how we help them as well. All right. So performance, that's the second motivator. Run faster, jump higher, win the game, win the podium, and how about this? Stay on the podium longer for multiple years. All right. So, some people are just, freaks, and they can just biomechanically pull it off. But at some point, that beautiful unicorn gift that they have will fail because of the concrete jungle and something else, which is the third one. Pain, they'll change. Performance, they'll change. Fashion, it's a big one. People want to look better. And literally, when your feet are caved in, your thighs are now double wide. Your leg's going to go through excessive rotation. Your butt will sag. Literally, all the connective tissues, everything's training out of motion. So the whole avenue of the body moving unfavorably, 2 to 3 million steps a year. I talk to people, I go, you like you're wearing your sandals all day, every day. To me, sandals are kryptonite to biomechanics. The foot has no purpose on a pile of cushioning. They're just shearing, leg rotation, excessive rotation, pulling the foot apart like taffy. You get all this connective tissue. It disfigures people. And not only do you look bad, you feel bad, and you wear out faster. I say butt sag jokingly, but not jokingly. Excessive rotations and shearing will wear joints out. So butt sag, hip replacement. How many people do we know in their 40s now up against knee and hip replacements? Footwear. Shoes are orthotics. Nobody can argue this. You wear a man heel called a cowboy boot, or wear a military boot, wear a sandal, wear a Gucci, Prada, Reebok, all the fashion, the flavors, the cool bands, lifestyle, unlaced, lace, slip-on, garden clogs, all those shoes change the way you move. Isn't that wild? Think about it. What your patient walks in the door with and out the door with, the fashion of the footwear. So performance, pain, fashion. And you can't just take somebody's Louboutins away. Talking to Timothy here, he likes to wear Louboutins. You can't do that. You can't take my Louboutins away. But if you're biomechanically efficient, let's talk about high heels for a second. You want to wear high heels? Great. It's a sport. Honestly, it's like training. I'm working with people like Jimmy Garoppolo or Nick Foles, top Super Bowl winning quarterback. What do you wear before your cleats? Rigid athletic footwear, right? Big hunk of plastic flying across the field. The timing and sequence of the biomechanical efficiency that you train is what goes into that. That means what you walk around in your house, what you walk around outside, what your fashion is, what you're doing. So technical difficulty, suction cup down. So I'm going to put my light back up.
It's all right.
High end, but we'll keep it real. High tech here. Shoes are orthotics. shoes are going to either destroy your chiropractic services. So if your person goes back out the door and they want to wear those cute little sandals with the flowers on them all day, every day, you're probably going to undo all the good you're trying to establish, because that foot is going to be taken out of biomechanical efficiency. And guess what the compensatory reaction is? The legs, the hips, the knees, the back. So I'm really passionate about this, because literally just simple education doesn't mean you need to give up your sandals or your Louboutins. How do you train and condition for them, right? Wear your sandals when you're sedentary. Train and condition for your high heels and your high fashion while you're at home and while you're just walking around. How do you do that? ALINE's part of the recipe. It's a 3-part recipe to really do this stuff. Pain, performance, fashion. Look better, feel better, run faster, jump higher, run longer. Mama tell you to brush your teeth. Why? Why, Mom, brush your teeth? Why? So she wanted you to have your own teeth to eat an apple with when you're 100, with your teeth. All right? Not the wooden blocks George Washington had. Right? So the same thing with footwear. You want to be sitting in a wheelchair with great teeth, eating an apple while you're drooling on yourself because you can't be active in life. How do you protect your biomechanics? 3-part recipe. Biomechanical efficiency through your footwear wardrobe. Not all of it. A good part of it, though. Where can you start making a difference? In your house, a house shoe. Don't wear a cute little sandal in the house, and don't go barefoot on hard floors. Shuts the foot down, creates compensatory reaction to the legs, detunes your body, makes your guitar out of tune. Robs your fashion, robs your performance, robs your health. Simple. Dial in your house shoe with an A-line and a fun little cool shoe you like to slip on. What's the next one? Here's the big one. Your outside shoe. What do you dial it in with? What do you do? People are like, well, I go to the office, I wear high heels, so I can't wear them. No, you commute to the office. You can have a nice shoe that you have your A-lines in and train and condition your barefoot functions to transition through footwear on your way to the office. Put your heels on, all this stuff, all right? The next thing, the big one. So I'm addressing, right? What can you do? A-line in your footwear wardrobe. A-line's one thing. Footwear wardrobe is number 2. Dial it in. The roads are free. Ski pass is $180. Buy a couple of pair of shoes. Take care of your feet. The third big one, range of motion management. This is your professional teeth cleaning everybody does twice a year. Why? Because they want to eat an apple with their own teeth. Walk a dog, walk a cane, your choice. Go to your chiropractor. Have them manage and assess the range of motion of your lower extremity. It is a wreck. Trust me. And I'm going to tell you how we discovered that the majority, when I say majority, a high 90% of people are a train wreck, literally, biomechanically. Why? Concrete jungle, fashion footwear, cute little clogs, sandals, all this stuff, shearing. Machines will last forever if you reduce shearing or eliminate it. Shearing is the number one enemy that destroys engines, machines. Your car breaks down because of shearing. Shearing wears stuff out.
Friction.
Yeah, all this, right? Shearing, friction, rotation, excessive shearing motions. That out of alignment, right? The range of motion of the alignment, where stuff's moving. What's the shock absorber? Where's it going? Chiropractor, everybody, 2 times a year, bare minimum. If you're an athlete, 4 or 6 times a year or more. Manage your lower extremity. How's the leg moving? How's the hip moving? How's the lower extremity? How's the gastroc? Where is it? So we went across the nation like Ben and Jerry's, these 2 little hippie guys, and interrupt me, guys, if I talk too much, but these 2 hippies from Vermont, and I'm talking to you guys from Vermont. I'm here in beautiful Stowe, Vermont. We went across and they let everybody taste their ice cream. Said, man, we got great ice cream. We'll take our hippie van across the nation and show everybody and let them taste our ice cream. So we went across the nation. We literally got these really cool vehicles and went back and forth across the nation to all these events and all these people, and well over 100,000 people. We took this device, and at the end of this podcast, you'll be able to see like this device and things and how you can take this simple thing that I can teach a 6-year-old kid how to use, make it stupid easy. And we put these lasers on the legs And you could see the ankle, you could see the knee, and you could see how they moved relative to one line. Hence the brand ALINE, okay? So ALINE, we put 100,000 plus people on, and what did we see? Static alignment, out of alignment, high 90%. The ankles were horrible, knees were off, everything's, and then we have just threw about 20 degrees of flexion into everybody, and asymmetrical messes. Looking at the show was the knees would dive in one direction or the ankle would go in a direction. You'd see, and they were always usually one side worse than the other. Asymmetries and be like, wow, I bet that hip hurts. And they go, how do you know that? You're looking at my feet. I can see that you're moving 2 to 3 million steps a year out of alignment.
So maybe you could explain the technology behind this foot suspension system and how exactly does it influence like the spine and the 100 bones in the feet?
Sure, absolutely. So what we did, we show people how messed up they are, and they go, hey, great. Make me better, please. So we immediately influenced the foot with an ALINE suspension system. Here's an ALINE, okay? Now, ALINE really came from understanding millimeters of movement. So everybody's like, well, what do you mean? Come on, Gordon. Everybody's got different shaped feet. You got high arches, low arches, got all this stuff. And, everybody's got the same moving bones and joints. It's like making a scuba dive mask. I know where your nose is. I know roughly where your eyes are. Some people got narrow heads. Some people got wide heads. Some people got narrow feet. Some people got wide feet. Some people have high arches, low arches. But it's really what we were looking at has nothing to do with the medial arch. You jam a medial arch, you destroy somebody on a hill. You'll create malalignment on a hip all day long if you overbrace a foot. So we really looked at where the transition sequence points were of bone tuberosities and how they articulated through molding thousands of motion points. And it was really cool. It was really fun. And the discovery was millimeters. Tony Robbins talks about 2 millimeters change your life. Literally 2 to 4 millimeters were the variables between high arch feet, low arch feet, all these variables. So we went in there and started engineering 100 plus dynamic support in suspension structures that influence moving bone tuberosities and articulation points that we could see from hip rotations. And we started fine-tuning the suspension system over the last decade through feedback from some of the most extreme and precision athletes of the world. X Games was one of our big pockets of research and grounds. Golf. Surgery of a sport, literally surgery of a sport. And hip rotations. I love that. So we're working with hip rotations and everything else. Now, again, I can put fairy dust on an A-line, wish you the best luck in the world. If your leg and your hip and your lower extremity is not moving well, you will overpower the A-line. This is why the chiropractic services, the range of motion services are a vital part of that 3-point recipe. I'll pontificate that. And the suspension system, the foot will swim through the motions on the suspension system. They're firm, they're not smushy, but under the foot, you're talking about 2 times body weight support to just walk. Also, we had another failure point, foam. Foam fails. Moldable, vulnerable. Foam fails. Everybody knows, take a pair of running shoes, and a lot of runners, serious runners, will go through 2 pair a year, right?
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Their phone breaks down. They know when their IT bands are singing to them, the shoes are shot. Even though they might look new, they cash them in. They get new ones. Same thing with your daily footwear that you walk around your cute little shoes. When they wear out, they essentially become bad orthotics. Again, shoes are orthotics. Shoes change the way you move, and it changes the way your patient moves. Your patient's footwear wardrobe is what is going to govern the success of your chiropractic services. Are they going to get results? Are they going to last longer? You got to help educate people. They can go back. I mean, you can't tell people to cleanse. I mean, I know you're working, Jim, on the gut and energy and blood flow and vascular and performance. All of it all of it. These are the layers. We could talk about bones and joints and gliding points in the foot to transition and a timing and sequence for variable trains, variable motion through variable footwear, which is a hurdle, because I'm governed by what you're going to put these darn things in. Of course, you're not going to get them in your Louboutins. Not going to happen. But we're going to get them in a certain amount of footwear that you can really dial into your day to help train and condition biomechanical efficiency from the foot to help maintain and harmonize range of motion through the leg, through all the man-made concrete jungle and man-made footwear, right? So this is the fun thing. That's how A-lines essentially work without really diving into each little articulation point. Things need to move in timing and sequence, but you need to support that motion. You can't cushion it. You put a pile of cushioning under the foot. We all know this. Go walk on the soft, fluffy sand, right? Your feet are doing this. Or go walk where the water washed up on the beach and the sand's firmer. You're going to go a little smoother. Go run on the really soft, fluffy sand. You're going to be all over the place like those run slow, jump low kids I saw on the soccer field as an asthmatic kid. So it's really understanding timing and sequence of foot transitions for good harmony on the leg.
So what are some of your mantras that keep you so fired up about this A-line product? Do you have any favorite, like, motivational quotes or other words of wisdom?
I have a dear close friend of mine. His name's Tony Robbins. Somebody might, you guys might know him. He's this big goofy guy with a big head, and he's just so passionate. And he teaches people. In fact, this is a Tony Robbins item. It's like live with passion. Right? And you really look at how do you wake up every day and how many lives can you change? Anybody that's in medical services or helping people, you want to help people. And my mantra really is that, living with passion. I am so stoked. Every time I saw several people pop up saying, hey, thank you so much. Your A-lines have helped so much. Or they won that medal and they're standing there going, Gordo. I had a buddy of mine that he literally broke the Guinness Book of World Record with a 100-foot no-handed backflip on a BMX bike with a prosthetic hip. He took his shoe off at the end and said, Gordon! So it's really, my passion comes from helping athletes to helping grandma walk a dog or helping people take the thorn out of their back, their knee, their hip, their foot, win the podium, stay in the game, do what they love longer. I mean, hey, again, I can put fairy dust on an A-line. It's a great product. It's been podium proven. You can find out for yourself. I mean, we guarantee it. Take it out, drive it hard for 3 months. If it's not the best thing you've ever had in your shoe, just send it back. Not a problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for me to you, like, I love the A-line, and I'll tell you why. It's like somebody that's never read a book before. And you recommend somebody to read a book and you'll say, hey man, if you just read this book, it will change your life. And that's how I feel about the ALINE Systems. Is it could be the greatest book that no one's ever read. But if you try it and you actually read it and you actually live it and you actually adhere to the message within that book, it could be the greatest investment you ever made for the text of something. Now, when it comes to biomechanics, when it comes to alignment, when it comes to spinal health and posture and physiology, and when it comes to the shift of living a more dynamic lifestyle, the A-line is something I've been using now for almost a month. And what I've seen is it's like reading a book. When you first start reading, you might not like it. And it might be, what does this word mean? Or what is the meaning of this sentence? And I really think that that's kind of the way that the body learns to adhere to the system that you've developed. And that's probably why when you see people that have hit high-level achievements with athletics or with some type of performance, they have been reading the book long enough. Their body's been adapting to the knowledge and the technology that's instilled within it and the dynamics that it was developed around, that now they are starting to become an up-level knowledge base of biomechanics. and their bodies are adapting at a different level. And that's one of the strengths of chiropractic, is the adaptability. And when people have, they start understanding it, as you've noticed, when people have an injury, there are limitations of matter. And if somebody has lost their arch, or if they've had some type of like a bunion or some type of like, an abnormality happen because of their posture within their feet, things might be harder for their bodies to assimilate to. So it's like trying to take an old dog and teach it new tricks. It's very challenging. So it's easier when we have somebody that's still in their developmental stages and teach them biodynamics, where they start to understand that if you take care of the bottom up, now we can take care of the rest of the body. And I really believe that there's not anybody out there that doesn't want to walk more. There's no one out there that doesn't want to have more harmony within their gait. There's nobody out there that wants to have a more rough day because they want to wear a shoe that hurts their foot more. So I think when we talk about like the dynamics of what you've created within the system and the strategy and from the bottom up foundation, the people that are actually using and utilizing this, back to what my original statement was, it's like reading a book. If you don't know how to read, it's going to be challenging. And when you start putting it in, like you said, if there's some foot flare or if there's some type of hip issue, it's going to make that, basically, it's going to wake that up. And it's going to be like, hey, you're going to have to go see somebody because now your hip is giving you an issue because you are living out of alignment within your feet. And now your feet are starting to find their footing and they're starting to actually work as they're supposed to. But now there's a chain reaction going up. And when you have the chain reaction going up, that's when we start to have these lumbar spine that start to get the issues in the tissues. And like you said, that there's this tension that's happening and this torque that's happening from the friction within the feet. Well, the friction is also happening on these micro turns that consistently happen within the knees and the ankles. And when the knees and the ankles go to the hips, then we get these 5 lumbar spine, which are taking what we call the issues in the tissue. And when there's issue in the tissue going on in the L4, L5, that's when we start getting these shooting pains going down the legs. And when people have these shooting pains going down the legs, you know what they do? I want to go see somebody that can help me with this because it's a real problem. And that's what we call limitations of matter. And when it comes to limitations of matter, that means that there's lack of ability for adaptation. And when people can't adapt, that's when we have to have some type of intervention. Mm-hmm. And most of the time people go to intervention, we have to really rehab people back to what is acceptable for their quality of life at that point. So a lot of these things that you're talking about, traveling across the nation, finding out solutions for people, it was a big thing. And it still is a big thing, but we have to teach the basics to people. And that's saying, hey, just try this, see how you can adapt for your lifestyle needs, whether it be for fashion or fitness or performance. And we'll see how we can help you, whether you're an extreme athlete or you're a soccer mom. And I think that what you said is so important when you said, not only are the people on the podium saying, hey, Gordo, thanks, bro, but it's the people that try these things day to day, that's quality of life improves because now they don't have to deal with foot pain and they don't have to deal with lack of health. And I think when we first started to talk to you, before we even said, hey, let's do an interview, are we a good fit? And I was like, yes, let us try your product too. And now that we've tried your product, I just want more people to understand that chiropractic from the foot up is definitely a necessity for people to hold their adjustments long term.
100%. People compensate really well. You know, you can put a pistachio nut in a shoe and you're going to walk away from the sharp edge. You're just going to walk funny. Well, steps, that pistachio nut has now woken up a very big biomechanical issue in your hip. So I love, we look at chiropractic, and I've been working with chiropractors for so long. Dr. Mike Leahy, one of my favorites, active release technique. And, he said, Gordon, finally, he goes, you finally have an active solution for an active problem, all right? Not a bracing solution for a broken problem. You put a brace or a cast on a broken arm to heal a broken arm, great. But man, Would you wear a cast on your arm for 10 years? You'd have sedentary, weak arm, right? So the atrophy would go in, and then you have a problem. You brace a foot, you're still going to walk, just like you're walking on the pistachio nut. But that compensatory reaction, because bodies compensate really well. And we're all compensating like a mother. Why? Man-made concrete jungle. We're all compensating. Man-made fashion footwear. Come on. We all look in your shoe closet. Everybody's got them. You got the junk food of footwear. We got really good footwear you can dial in and rely on. And you have all these shoes saying that they do stuff. Motion control, anti-pronation, all this stuff. Pronation's healthy. You want to pronate. It's about timing and sequence of when you pronate. You want to supinate. Stand on a hill. Supination, pronation. Alignment on a hill. That's just standing. That's before you even run it. So you think about pronation, supination, all these good functions. And the last time I checked, shoes come in pairs, man. Shoes come in pairs. Feet don't. You got a bunion the size of Kansas on the left foot, and then you got a hyperflexible foot, right foot. And then these variables are everybody. There's so many variables, but the same moving bones and joints, which is really cool. So we're able to put an algorithm in there. Again, ALINE's are great. I'm not knocking. Orthotics are needed for a lot of reasons. You got stepped on by an elephant. You stood too close to the taxi stand. You got your foot run over. You got 30 pins in your feet. That's a bummer. I'm sorry might be you. And I feel for you because you're going to unfortunately have to brace the deformity. But your average kid with a hyperflexible flat foot, because they didn't lace their shoes for the first decade of their life and they got really weak, long, flat feet, and we all know who they are, it's a good foot. They come right back. Those kids also, you walk around with hyperflexible flat feet, drive around on flat tires all day long, your suspension's jacked. Your knees, your hip, your back, all of it's taking a hell of a ride from flexible flat feet, floundering all around that kid on the playing field doing all that. So I love, people looking at all the layers, right? When you think of feet, got to allow them to move, let them function. You got to give people their fashion. Don't take stuff away from people. Have chocolate cake. Just don't eat it all day, every day. Have your fun shoes. Have your shoes you can rely on. Dial your footwear in, but you got to think of the vascular performance, the lactic acid removal. You and I, Jim, were geeking out on that. You asked me what I geek out on. I love biohacking. I love looking for new technologies to combat what we're going to live in. I hate to tell you, concrete jungle's here to stay. So we need to hack our footwear and our minds to dial in how we're going to evolve now, because humans just totally derailed evolution. You don't take 100,000 plus years and just change it in 200 years and think the body's going to catch up overnight. It won't. So the vascular performance, our blood flow, the diet, the gut, all of it. Your feet are like two regulators for the ankles, which are your hearts. If your feet get stuff moving, you can't go off that garden hose all day, every day. The vascular performance is going to be compromised. How about your nerves? How about all these things that you docs really, really study? And that's why I love chiropractic so much, because before I knew Dave Asprey and biohacking and how awesome it is to really think out of the box, the biggest out-of-the-box thinkers that I've ever met out of my decade and a half of really being in the trenches, chiropractors. Nobody looks at more variable ideas on how to get results that I've ever seen than your chiropractor. And I'm talking really cool stuff, and people get it and they research it and they take the time. Why? Because they freaking care. You guys care. Anybody listening to this or spending an hour with, Jim and Luke and I, you care. You really do. And you're looking for a way for delivering to your patient products that are real. What's authentic? Everybody's got a pretty insole. I can take a piece of foam and make it really pretty and say it does all these incredible things. Prove it. Go out there and go prove it. Show it. How are you, white paper's great and a lot of it, but know the field. Really think out of the box. Is it really real? Is that, 500 people walked really well on a treadmill real? Does that give you data on variable terrain, variable motion, variable range of motion, variable footwear for an athlete traveling 30 feet out of the half pipe and landing sideways, or grandma walking a dog on a sidewalk? There's too many variables. And you got to really understand thinking out of the box is what I geek out on. And I'm loving the whole next phase. I won't tell anybody, but don't let anybody know this, but I've just reinvented the whole future of high heels. Patents have just come through. If people can dance on speakers healthy in high heels until they're 90. But biomechanically finding high heel solutions help me find stability and mobility solutions to imbalances of elderly, people with neuropathy, people with maybe diabetic issues, things that are really exciting. The future of technology is of people finding ways to hack. People will go, oh, Gordon, I got my 10,000 steps today. I'll go, good for you. You just got 10,000 steps closer to a hip replacement. Are they good steps or bad steps? You got to think quality and motion. And part of the 3-part recipe, the alignment of the footwear and the range of motion of that alignment, that is the biggie. Again, my product will not work without your service. Chiropractic services to understand how to have the joints of the lower extremity and the myofascia, the release, the technologies that you guys know out the back of your hand. We will not work without your help, period.
So being so ingrained in the chiropractic profession, where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years or so?
Yeah, I think chiropractic is going to become one of the vital knowledge bases that people can rely on to go live actively longer. I look at things like live longer, yeah, in a wheelchair with your nice teeth eating an apple so you're not moving, or moving. I want to retire and play golf or go for a hike or go rip some turns. I was just mountain biking with a 75-year-old with 2 knee replacements, but he kicked ass. Why? He biomechanically takes care of himself now. He's really in tune and sees a chiropractor much so often. So I see the chiropractor being like a dentist, bare minimum 2 times a year. I see mom lugging Tommy, Susie, Johnny, all the kids in, maybe even their dog, to get assessed for biomechanical ranges of motion and make sure things are moving well, so you don't wake up at 40 years young with a $40,000 hip replacement. It's ridiculous. There's no need for it. Come on. I mean, you're born, you got bow legs. There's all this technology that can help combat that. Bulldogs, bows. I was just talking to somebody with bow legs and plantar fasciitis through the roof, and he's miserable. He's an ex-runner of this net. Bows are powerful. Bows fail fast. Bulldogs, they lose their joints early in life. Powerful beast, lose their joints. Why? Biomechanically not efficient. The beautiful thing with our hacks, we can hack our footwear, not with just an A-line, but with biomechanical know-how to make the bows last longer so that you can be out there doing what you love to do when you're 100, hopefully. So I see the chiropractic being a vital source for keeping people active longer in life. Vital. And once everybody realizes that they can get their passion out of that, by seeing their chiropractor, they're going to be able to not only look better, feel better, run faster, jump higher, win the game, stay in the game, wear their high heels, wear their Gucci's, stay their fashion, hit the passion. People move from passion. Don't let pain just be the passion. Be a vital source of them being able to stay in the game longer. And I'll teach you how to educate them with one picture.
So let's go through a speed round here. We have about 4 questions we still wanted to ask you before we wrap up today. And one of the segues I'm going to share with people is it's the biomechanic motion of life. First you crawl, then you walk, then you run. And I think that when people think of life in those terms, and then you run fast, and then you ride harder, and then you win. And that's really where we want to take the lifeline of what ALINE is doing is we want to say, okay, you're going to start out as a toddler, you're going to fall a bunch, and you're going to eventually get your feet underneath you, and then eventually you're going to walk. And that's probably one of the most important parts of a person's life, whenever their parents see them take that first step. Or it might be the most important part of history of our nation is when we saw Neil Armstrong take the first step on the moon. And when you think about the first step that people take with an A-line, it could be the next great step for them in the future of their life. And they might be afraid of getting fit. And then you could say, okay, well, when you're performing better from the walk, to the run, now we're actually improving your human dynamics and your quality of life long term. So we can take this something so small, and it's like I said, back to the book. When a child says their first word, that's like the most congratulatory like moment of like the development of a life. Right. Now, if somebody were to improve their gait and their walking ability and their motion through the rest of their lifetime, now this is the first step that they'll take towards independence for a future with more mobility and quicker movement, more dynamic lifestyle. And like you said, it doesn't matter if it's a performance athlete to somebody that's wearing their Gucci's that wants to have their fashion out there. This is a product that's going to enhance their quality of life long term. And that's really what we're about with what we do with chiropractic, is we want to teach people that chiropractic adds years to their life and adds life to their years. And I really believe that that's the counterbalance of what you're doing with your product, is you're adding years to people's life and life to their years. And that's why people are going to be walking at 100 with their dog rather than their cane. But we'll go through a speed round with you. Name 2 heroes that you have, and if you could sit and have lunch with one person for an hour, who would it be?
You know, who I adore so much right now has been such a major influence in my life is Tony Robbins. And he's an absolute hero. He's really brought forward a thinking pattern of understanding what it really means to have growth and contribution, and what your meaning is and purpose, and why we do this. You know, we're not going to take $1 billion with us to our grave. You're going to take 1 billion souls. How you help people live a happier, longer, active life. So Tony has really wired and helped channel my spirit, my being, my soul, no pun intended, to really deliver that to the world. If I had an hour to go hang out with somebody, probably Elon Musk, honestly. Somebody is so driven, somebody is so forward thinking, somebody that's really creative out of the box, obviously. I would love to spend an hour with Elon. I think that'd be interesting.
Well, for those that are watching that don't know, Elon, I believe his grandmother was a chiropractor. So that's a little notable for people out there watching.
So a word that's been thrown a lot on this episode is biohacking. What makes chiropractors specifically geek out on biohacking?
You're looking for better ways. Biohackers, they're always trying out the newest, latest, greatest things. They're thinking about themselves. They're the trendsetters. I mean, come on. How many docs do you know have got like, I got the new kind of hammer thing, or I got this new thing, or I got this new tool, or I got this new move, or this new bench, or they're always out there looking and researching. And they don't just look at some people like, oh yeah, chiropractor just cracks backs and whatnot. No, they don't. I've got more knowledge from neurovascular life, from a chiropractor, from your jaw to TMJ to how you carry yourself. Or maybe they geek out on and take extensive courses. I know chiropractors, I got one of my dear friends right now, I think he's got the biggest practice in British Columbia right now. And he started out with a chiropractic business. Most of his people now in there, he's got physical therapists, he's got orthopedic surgeons. He's bringing in all these therapies and expanding this thing, and put his whole business on almost an autopilot, driven by people that are driven for really one purpose. They care. And that's why I love chiropractors. They really give a shit. People that care. And that's, I mean, come on, what's authentic, And people that take the time to biohack, really look, and that's where I geek out, because you walk into a room and somebody sorted out some new thing that you wouldn't have thought of. I mean, there's motions like active release technique, I think is really cool, a little broader scope. There's another thing your chiropractor should check out. If you haven't heard of it or seen it, check out the Egoscue method. This crazy guy, Peter Egoscue, it's kind of primal motion, but Egoscue, Egoscue. Check it out. That's another cool biohacking kind of thinking about what people can do at home. Seriously, make your results, help them achieve better results at home. A little bit of homework. Don't make it crazy difficult. Some simple, fun things that you already do, but maybe there's a couple of Egoscue moves or a couple other things that you might like better. So yeah, biohacking, are you kidding me? From blood to nerves to oxygen to therapies and combating all the unnatural world we live in, from all the energies and disruptors that we're facing every day. I mean, we're like in a tsunami of crap, right? I mean, all of it. And think of it. Everything we do now, from our food to our water, our air, our shoes, a natural, baby. Biohack it.
Well, I also believe that the world hasn't seen any of our best days yet. And when we understand more about our function of life, we can then embark upon finding a better day for ourselves. And I really believe that chiropractors are the doctors of the present and the future. And when we talk about like a full body health paradigm, there's no one else out there that can help more people with more knowledge about natural living and a natural lifestyle and a futuristic lifestyle that we're talking about today. And the biohack is one of those things that is the road to the future. And there's people out there that are specialists that are trying to figure out how to do one thing with one small portion of existence and making it better. And that's what I love so much about this conversation today, is we're talking about one small thing that can make such a difference with so many people and make so much of someone's life better. And I think that when we talk about like performance of the common person that's going to their everyday like job to the person that's out there performing at such a high level, we're talking about the development of an individual. And when somebody has a better day, they have a better life, which contributes to more people around them, which is the big idea that if we can help one person, then they can help millions. And really, that's what I see you doing. And that's why I knew when Tim connected me with you, we could take your message and transport that message on our network to hopefully helping one person help a million. And that's really what the power of this technology that we're developing in today is, these live streams and this podcasting world and this big idea of connecting your message to the masses. And it might not be the message that we connect with today. It might be the one we connect with tomorrow. It might be somebody that watches this today that has a takeaway that says, I'm going to help this guy with my clinic, and he's going to help me with his systems. And now we're going to help this many more people. And I really think that when you tie it all together, we have something that's going to motivate people to actually take better care of themselves. And we're going to inspire a chiropractic profession to say, you know what, we've been using the wrong thing for too long. We need to look at what they're doing over there with these A-lines and see how we can help people from the ground up. And I really believe that posture is beautiful. I really believe that the chiropractic profession is the beautiful profession. And if we can get more people having better posture, that increases vital lung capacity. It increases their ability to have longer quality of life. And with a proper motion of the body, we get a chance to get people there in style. So I know we're coming up on the edge of our time together today, but we do want to ask one more question. What are your hobbies? What do you do besides help people?
You know, I am literally, people are contagious to me. So of the life, the spirits, everybody's a new book. I love being around all the amount of people you really meet just by helping their feet is just unreal. So I just geek out on really traveling and going out to all these, well, when we used to not be in a contagious world, doing all the trade shows and doing all the events, especially around biohacking, meet people. One of my big things, as far as me personally, still pushing the envelope, huge skier, chasing snowflakes. Are you kidding me? And I'm a huge sailor. I love it. I love those type of sports, sailing and skiing, because it's really a three-part recipe, again, that I like. For me, Mother Nature. You know, you're on a sailboat, you're on a ski slope, you're out there. Sport. Anybody that's really done competitive sailing, offshore sailing, you're fighting for your life. It is badass and it's serious and it's fun. And you go out there and charge hard if you're racing and doing whatnot. But you're with a group of people. Skiing, same thing. So the third part, one part is nature, the other part sport, and the other one people. You're hanging out with people, and I love that. You ride, you go crush a huge run, and you come back, you get on the chairlift, you have the conversation. You're like, man, what that shot was insane. You hit that 30-footer, you stuck your landing. It's just so much fun sharing the excitement of being human and being active. And that's why we're so passionate, because literally this force is a force for good. And literally with the chiropractic force and people that give a shit, people that care about things that really matter, which is active life, not life. Yeah, I can have somebody live longer. What's that? Think about it. Active life, active living. And that, my friends, is what we're all fighting for. And that's why I work 8 days a week, literally. I can't do this enough. I could do podcast, and just share technologies and services that are meaningful and people that really care, with people that are like you. Jen, think about it. What you're doing, Luke, what you're doing, you care. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Well, that is an excellent way to wrap up this episode, but we still have one last question. It's the most important one. Where can people go to buy these?
ALINE.com is a great way to go see it and buy it. If you live in Pago Pago on an island somewhere and you can't go see a chiropractor to get them, you can go to ALINE.com. If you're a chiropractor watching this, and you want to really, really have a lot of fun, you can teach your admin how to do this to your kids. It's fun. I take the system right into schools and let 10-year-olds throw lasers on legs, and you can see run fast, jump high. And it's really, and the kids go boom, boom. You'll see left to right. You'll see the range of motion. It's a simple little device that you can put in your office, and it comes in that 2-pack form, and it's almost free. And the service you get, if you use a real high-tech device that everybody has, your customer's phone. If you flip that phone on and you take their picture on that device with the lasers on their legs, and you show them that they've been moving 2 to 3 million steps a year out of alignment, and it's probably not favorable to walking the dog versus walking a cane, you're going to find all of a sudden that your patient now turn into your biggest, least expensive marketing, passionate advocate for your practice. It's insane. You do that for one person, each person's going to lug 10 more people into your practice. So some of you guys have so many people, you don't want more people, but if you're growing a practice, educate your patient. Not only will you change their life, they're going to take that photo that you took and they're going to be with their golf partners. They're going to be in, I've seen it. People are in Starbucks. Oh my God, I was just over there. Look at me. Look at my knee was here. My knee was, my hip hurts, my this and that. Now I'm like this. And they're like, they get it. You make it stupid easy, because you can show x-rays, you can show this, and people don't know what they're looking at. You can look pressure, sensory, and all that stuff. They're like, I don't know, is it a boy or is it a girl? They can't explain that to their friend. But when you see just a leg, and I think, Jen, Luke, you're going to post a couple of pictures on so you can see what people see. And I made it stupid easy. So out of alignment knee, out of alignment ankles, asymmetries, and how to start from symmetry, but not braced. You want to start central, but be able to pronate, be able to supinate, be able to have timing and sequence for variable terrain, variable motion, variable leg curvatures, variable bodies, variable range of motion, variable footwear. And we're just one part of that recipe. It's a 3-part recipe. That's it, my friends.
Well, Gordon, thank you for being our guest today. I want to send a big special warm thank you to Tim Ruppel for connecting us with you. I want to send a big thank you to you for getting us into a couple pairs of your ALINE systems. And we just want to have you have a wonderful rest of your night out there in Stowe, Vermont. And I look forward to our next opportunity to connect with you. And I see the future as being one of synergistic opportunity for both of us.
Beautiful, my friend. Keep out there serving.
All right, man. If anybody out there watching that found some value in this, please hit the share button. And please share this with your audiences. And just want to say good night and let's high five.
Oh!
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.